Alright, guys. This video is going to be about Chris Paul. He is a NBA player who just retired from the Los Angeles Clippers. And it seems like during his retirement, he just, he wanted to learn about his roots, his ancestry. So, I'm going to play the video and react to it. And I'm going to be honest, I've already seen this video. Some of you probably already seen the video too. So we're going to put this in 1.5 speed. And we're going to listen to what him and Mr. Skip is talking about. Henry Louis Gates, the Irish King, right? We're going to listen to them. Probably pause a little bit just to react quickly to what Chris Paul is saying and Henry Gates. And then we're going to come back with a commentary at the end and tell you the truth of what this really means. Okay? But let's go. 1.5 speed. Or 1.25. We'll do 1. Oh, we can't do 3. Okay, 1.25. I think 0.5 might be too fast. Let's try that. Let's go.
If you was to make this into a feature film, you would look at it like that's not true. There's no way that happened.
Hold up a second. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Fair use. Hopefully this works. I don't even know if this works. But
fair use. Fair use.
Basketball star Chris Paul is about to discover that he has a kindred spirit in his family tree. His fourth great-grandfather, a man named Peter Oliver. Chris had heard of Peter before. Indeed, he knew that his hometown of Winston-Salem had long been planning to name a park after him. But Chris wasn't sure what Peter had done to deserve such an honor. The answer lies in the archives of a North Carolina branch of the Moravian Church. In 1786, this church purchased Peter from a slave owner in Virginia and then baptized him. Likely at his...
A slave purchased and then baptized him. When have you ever heard of that? A black slave purchased and baptized. Really? Let's go.
At his own request.
And who gives the name?
The Moravians.
The Moravians.
Yeah. Now, we don't know if he said, I want to be Peter, or if they said, your name is Peter.
But he got the name from the Moravians.
Yeah, in that moment of baptism. And then
He got the name Peter from the Moravians. I'm pretty sure it might be referring to the I can't.
Merovingian.
Merovingian dynasty. Maybe that's what they're trying to say. I might be talking about something else. Let's type in Moravian. Oh, Moravian. This. Okay. I'm getting confused with the other one. Could be the same thing. Let me see. Moravian Church. Okay. Oh, okay. Versus Mero. What's that? Dang, they ain't got a little thing read to you. Alright. So it's two different. Moravian relates to the 9th century Slavic state in Central Europe, while Moravian refers to the Frankish dynasty that ruled modern day France. Okay. Alright, let's get back to it.
initially he was known simply as Negro Oliver. Then when he's baptized, he takes on the Christian name Peter. And after 1786, he's known as Peter Oliver. How do you think he felt that day?
Probably felt about as normal as he possibly could. I mean, as normal as you could in 1786, but to actually have a name and not be called Negro,
Right.
it's wild.
The Moravians were unusual in that they allowed enslaved people into their congregations and treated them as religious, if not necessarily as social equals, providing opportunity.
So indentured servants, that might be what maybe black indentured servants became them, or I might be misunderstood.
Generally unavailable to other enslaved people. For Peter, these opportunities would prove life-changing. Roughly a year after his baptism, he was purchased by a master potter named Rudolf Christ. Pottery was a valuable craft at the time, and Peter would rapidly excel at it, becoming one of the only documented African-American potters of his era in all of North Carolina.
This is wild.
What's it like to see that?
Man, it's just so much connectivity, right? And you realize everything happens for a reason, and the story.
So a black man, not a Negro man, or maybe the same thing, but a black man. I said maybe because there is a difference, but black man, before the 1866 emancipation of the Native American slavery, right? Before that slavery, a black man was building pottery with pots, right? In 1800 and got freed, right? Oh wait, I already expelled part of the video, but knew how to create pottery. But I thought slaves couldn't do any of that. I thought slaves were in chattel slavery by Indians, right? And I thought white slaves were in chattel slavery to blacks. So let's get back.
Stories that we sort of all tell about ourselves were always connected to something that came before us, and it's amazing to hear, right? Like, this is a different connection with Peter Oliver than just sort of like a park being renamed in our hometown. Even though I wasn't in slavery or anything like that, the way he used pottery is kind of how I looked at the game of basketball.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Even though I wasn't in slavery, you were never a slave. Sorry, Chris Paul. You were never a slave. Your ancestor probably was never a slave either.
And it's been able to take me and my family outside of our hometown and show us the world.
A skill at which he excelled.
Yep.
And which the society placed value on.
For sure.
Moravian records show that by 1799, after just 13 years in their congregation, Peter had not only mastered pottery, he'd also joined a choir and a firefighting team. And he'd done something else as well. Something that must have required extraordinary effort.
So when Peter was purchased, right? He became a potter, a firefighter, a black slave becoming a person who makes pots, a trade skill, right? And a firefighter. This don't sound like a slave. This don't sound like a slave, guys. It don't. Let's get back to the commentary. The video.
Chris, he'd also learned to read and write.
He was different.
Sorry, I had to pause
Bad
again.
brother.
Yeah.
He learned to read and write. Before the 1866 Emancipation Proclamation of the Native American blacks, blacks are enslaved by Native Americans and other white slaves enslaved to blacks, they couldn't read or write. They were all on the plantation picking cotton, peanuts, hitting bricks all day. The women in the house getting the fruit graped all day, right? When they were dealing with all that in the 1800s, Chris Paul ancestor Peter Oliver, he was the only black man to be a firefighter and a potterer, but everybody else had to go through the consequences of slavery. Let's go.
Yeah. Especially because.
But I'm talking about when I'm at consequence. I'm talking about people who went to consequences. I'm talking about the white slaves to black people, and the black slaves the Negro slaves to Native Americans.
Reading and writing was sort of forbidden. So when it makes you wonder when was that taking place? Who was teaching him?
Right, what his master was saying, obviously, he's so bright, let's teach him to read and write.
Right.
Oh my God, bro, this is so hilarious, bro. His master teaching him to read and write. And it's not even 18. It's not even year 1805 yet. Teaching them how to read and write.
Right.
He probably said, look, I'm more valuable to you if you let me learn to read and write. For sure. You know, get the rope-a-dope on.
We ain't got time to do all this.
Unfortunately, despite everything he'd accomplished, Peter remained enslaved. But that was about to change. In 1800, he was sold yet again, this time to a Moravian man who lived in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. And we believe that Peter himself pushed for this sale.
So why Pennsylvania?
Please turn the page. Chris, you're looking at an amazing document. It's an affidavit presented to a man named Frederick Kuhn, one of the associate judges in Lancaster County. Would you please read that transcribed section?
Peter Oliver verily believes that he is entitled to his freedom by virtue of the laws of Pennsylvania, having been held as a slave by virtue of the said bill of sale in this commonwealth, and that deponent is not confined or restrained of his liberty for any other cause whatsoever, and further saith not. Signed, Peter Oliver, sworn before me, June 13, 1800.
He goes to a judge and says, Your Honor, I believe that I am a free man in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
And that was part of probably why he got sold up to Pennsylvania.
That's right.
Right.
They were enabling his freedom.
Yep.
Because Pennsylvania had abolished slavery. Right. And North Carolina didn't abolish slavery till the Civil War made it abolish slavery.
They did him basically a favor in selling him
That's right.
up north.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you make of this?
What he demonstrated is exactly why they put in a park and all that in Winston.
Yes.
You know, and the importance of this is, I mean, I remember my mom getting on Zooms with the family members and whatnot, talking about Peter Oliver and me. I was like, okay. You know, but you don't know what you don't know.
No,
right? So to hear all of the information that I heard today makes me understand why. Yeah, he was a go-getter.
Discovering our ancestors can change our lives, helping us to understand more fully who we are, where we came from, and how we're all connected to a much larger world. To see more incredible family history stories, click here. And thank you for watching.
Thank you for this comical or funny ancestry. Let's read some comments right quick before we get to the truth of what I think his ancestry is. Crazy that he and Rajon Rondo are related, fourth cousins. I remember his beloved grandfather, Nathaniel Jones. We need a Joe Bud episode, bit of a story, Negro Oliver. What an empowering and beautiful story. In 1780, In 1786, so it's safe to say that Chris Paul lineage genealogy goes back to the 13 colonies, which ended in 1776. People like to talk about the United States of America, but never talk about the 13 colonies, which predates it. Yep, I agree. I think I've seen this person before. Okay. Anyone can help me read a 1860 one cursive C. Who were the slaves I got to one, but I'm stuck. Okay. Who was Chris Paul? Black Hebrew Israelites, that's right. Christian and slavery over and over. Think about the logical factor. If slavery of the Africans who gave slaves to the Europeans in exchange for material, none of it existed. Okay. So this is what the most important thing is, right? This comment right here. Now, let's look up what I believe Chris Paul really is. Chris Paul. Christopher Emmanuel Paul Sr. nicknamed CP3 and the Point Guard, is an American professional basketball player. Okay? Regarded as one of the greatest point guards of all time. He won the NBA Rookie of the Year award and the NBA All-Star Game Most Valuable Player award, 2 Olympic gold medals, and led the NBA in assists 5 times and steals a record 6 times. Paul has been selected to the 12 NBA All-Star teams, 11 All-NBA teams, and 9 NBA defensive teams. In 2021, he was selected to the NBA 75th anniversary team. Paul served as the president of the National Basketball Player Association from 2013 to 2021. So I want you to look at this part. As the president. So he's a leader of one of the leaders of the NBA, right? Chris Paul was born in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, to Charles Edward Paul and Robin Jones. He grew up in Louisville with his older brother Charles Paul Jr. Paul's family name gave him CP3 because Paul, his father, and his brother all share the same name initials. A former athlete himself, Charles Sr. taught his son basketball and football and coached him in various youth leagues throughout their childhoods. Growing up, the Paul brothers spent their summers working at a service station owned by their grandfather, Nathaniel Jones. Owned by their grandfather, Nathaniel Jones. Right. So he already had money growing up. So, he had a lot of money, basically. Or his grandfather did, something like that. But Paul is regularly ranked as one of the highest paid athletes in the world by Forbes. Some of the companies that he has done business with, Nike and State Farm. Okay. So now let's get to his parents. This is his dad and mother. I don't want to. Okay. See how swarthy his dad is. Now, let's get to Peter Oliver. NBA star Chris Paul discovered through the PBS show Finding Your Roots that he is descendant of Peter Oliver, 1766 and 1810, an enslaved man in Old Salem, North Carolina, who bought his own freedom in 1800. Remember, you cannot buy your own freedom. White slaves and black slaves, indentured servants, were not freed until 1866. 66. And some didn't even know until they came down and told them. So this is bullshit. Alright. And this is coming from his mother's side, by the way, too. I think so. And it doesn't really matter if it's not coming from the mother's side or dad's side. Because look. Chris Paul Jones. His mom's last name is Jones. His dad's last name is Paul. So now, let's go. Just read about the Moravian church a little bit. Black people. Before we get to the truth. The Moravian Church has a complex history with black people, ranging from early 18th century missionary work in the Caribbean to, in some cases, owning slaves in North America, while simultaneously recognizing them as spiritual equals. The church established St. Philip's in 1822. The oldest African American congregation in North Carolina is now actively addressing past slavery-related and systematic racism. Okay, so I want to see more. So let's read this one. St. Philip's Moravian Church is the oldest surviving African American church building in North Carolina. The Moravian Church was built in 1861 on the east side of South Church Street. Okay, this might be the wrong one. Wait, no. Okay, members of a local black congregation, Freemasonry, newly formed in 1822, when there were black slaves, the Native Americans, right? And these people were building this, right? Built a log church south of the 1773 Strangers Graveyard, which had been designated as an African American cemetery in 1816. Between 1827 and 1831, as a Sunday school was taught by white single sisters until law forbade teaching literacy to slaves. Right. Moravian leaders built a larger brick church to the east of the graveyard in 1861. On May 21st, 1865, Reverend Seth G. Clark, 10th Regiment, Ohio Cavalry read General Orders 32 announcing freedom from the St. Philip's pulpit. In 1890, an extension consisting of a central hall with a classroom on each side, lower level, and large room above, which opened onto the sanctuary and could be closed off and used as a classroom, was added to the front of the building. The brick church was referred to as the Moravian Negro Congregation. Negro Congregation. Until December 1913, when a low feast service, it was given the name St. Philip's by Bishop Edward Roundtowler. Alright. Let's try to lead this last one. Right. Crash, you guys could probably go read this one. But Christianity and Slavery, the Moravians of North Carolina, 1753 to 1858. So yeah, we might make another video for this one. But yeah, let's get to the Chris Paul. So, we already learned that the Europeans were swarthy, and they came to America. Chris Paul and his parents are swarthy. Swarthy. What we're going to do, we're going to type the ancestors that we learned, Oliver. Page 31. This is from the 1830 Free Negro Slave Owners in the United States. So these are black slave owners. These are black slave owners found in the 1830 census. We go to the first one. We found in South Carolina. Nellie Oliver. Let's type that in. Nellie Oliver. Okay. Black slave owner. What's this? What is this? Nah, ain't nothing. What's this? Okay, so So we found some Olivers in Virginia and Oliver. And then now, was it Kenny Oliver in Kentucky? Negro slave owners, right? Now, let's type in Paul last name. Whoa. But we have to look for last name. Let's see. Dang. Okay, we're trying to find it. But, you know. Paul Nemo. John Boyert. Can't find Paul in here. But like I said, we found Oliver. There's a slave owner named Nellie Oliver, right? Who was a Negro slave owner, right? We found Oliver. We found Nellie Oliver in South Carolina. Had 4 slaves. And another one named Ann Oliver in Virginia, who had 1 slave. And there's more. Also, Chris Paul's mom last name is Jones. So it's a lot of Jones, right? So even though Paul, we can't find it, I'm pretty sure. So let me give you an example. We already learned, we were in Febreze stream. We learned James Harden. Right? So what I'm saying is, right, Chris Paul. We can't find Paul. We found Oliver in his in there, but James Harden, right? Basketball player, Negro, swarthy. You can type James Harden on here. We gotta wait. Why is it not showing now? It showed on his stream. Hold on. You know what? Let me just do it this way. Right, James Harden. You find James Harden in Maryland, right? James Harden, Negro slave owner, 1 slave. And do you have a modern James Harden today? Probably related, right? You don't think he hasn't even done his ancestry? Let's just type ancestry right quick. Right, he hasn't done his ancestry. Right? If Chris Paul name not in here, I mean, if James Harden name isn't here, and he hasn't even done his ancestry yet, right? What makes you think Chris Paul, even though his name not in here, is not, you know, of the same stock too? Because Chris Paul grew up more wealthy than James Harden. James Harden from Los Angeles, so you know, so but yeah, y'all, we just proved to you Chris Paul is a black European. And I'm out.